competitive rates, free package tracking account with live notifications, free delivery, and of course, excellent customer service. Visit our website at tdcairbox.com and register today. For more information, visit our offices at the C.A. Paul Industrial Site in St. Kitts and Penny's Industrial Site in Nevis. Follow us on social media at TDC Airbox. TDC Airbox. You click, we ship. Terms and conditions apply.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
Buying your medication is easy with City Drug Store's curbside pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your requests. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drug Store's curbside pickup service.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
Good morning, Singit and Nevis, and welcome to another edition of Inside the News on WinFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius, and I am here with some staff members from the counseling unit within the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs. And today we will be speaking about families, essentially families, International Day of Families. However, before I continue, I'll allow for them to introduce themselves, starting right here.
Hi, good morning. My name is Michelle Ann Neal, and I'm a family counselor within the counseling unit.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alicia Collins, and I am also a family counselor in the counseling unit.
Thank you guys so much, and thank you for accepting our invitation to have this interview on Inside the News. And we're hoping that in the near future, we Good to have you guys back. Good morning to all of you who have joined us via Radio Land. Of course, those of you at home and abroad, and those of you who have joined us via social media. We are live on Facebook and YouTube and various social media platforms. Good morning. You're listening to Inside the News on WinFM 98.9. We will say thank you to our sponsors one last time, and when we come back, we will begin this discussion. Let's take a short break.
Boys know. If you need insurance, our service is the best. Home motor insurance can give you more for less. Property insurance can save you a lot of stress. At TDC Insurance Company Limited, we care about your investment. Guarantee you peace of mind. The best team in the business. Guarantee you peace of mind. No other company will. Guarantee you peace of mind. Together we'll succeed and guarantee you peace of mind.
TDC Insurance Company Limited, where you get more coverage for less.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
Welcome back to Inside the News. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. You're listening to WinFM 98.9. As mentioned earlier, we have here in our studios Alicia Collins and Michelle Neal, and they are both family counselors within the counseling unit in the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs. Ms. Collins?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. And at first, before we begin, what we wish to accomplish from this discussion, we want to have a conversation. You know, we are observing all of the protocols, so you know we are not able to go out and have these community sit-downs. We are not able to walk through communities and visit families and have this discussion. So we have to utilize technology, and so the theme for this year's Family Day was families and new technologies. And so my colleague, Mrs. Neal, will speak more on that. Today we are going to be speaking on families and the new technologies, connecting and protecting. So what we wish to get from this discussion, we don't have all of the answers. We want to be able to have a meaningful discussion where persons can call in with their suggestions, with their ideas, with their take, because we may be seeing something one way and there is a whole other perspective out there that we may have missed. And so we want to have persons calling and really engage with us. We also want to be able to make notes so we can use this as part of a guideline to chart our way forward. Because, you know, we have to take into consideration COVID-19 that is here, and, you know, we constantly hear it is here to stay. And so how do we work with the families, how to provide this awareness and to provide this support and to empower them? So we want to be able to leave from here with suggestions, with new ideas. We want to get other feedback. Everybody's an expert. So no matter what they're thinking, no matter what idea comes to you, no matter what question comes up in your head, we want to hear it. And so we can share what information, what knowledge we have. Mm-hmm. And so we are expecting the listening public to share their expertise and their ideas as well.
Thank you so much, Ms. Collins. And if I may add, prior to COVID-19, so many families here in St. Kitts and Nevis and I dare say across the Caribbean region, they were not as exposed to technology before. There were some families that were, in my opinion, totally against, technology, computers, phones, you name it. But when COVID-19 came, we really saw the importance
Yes.
of utilizing technology.
It was a total shift.
Yes, indeed it was. And for some, it was not as easy. For others, it was an easy walk in the park.
Correct.
Michelle?
Good morning. Thank
morning.
you for having me. Okay, so today I'll give a little background on International Family Day. International Family Day and Family Month was introduced by the United Nations in 1993. Every year they have a particular theme so that we could focus on these aspects of the family as we connect them to society. As my colleague said, this year the theme is families and new technologies, and how we connect and protect families and family members. Okay.
Thank you. So we're, as mentioned earlier, we are here to have a conversation about how technology has impacted the lives of, or how it has impacted families here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and of course across the world. And as mentioned before, prior to COVID, many people were not as exposed to technology. When COVID came, everyone saw the importance. I can speak for myself. Before COVID, I would stand up in long lines to order stuff, to pay bills. When COVID came, mobile banking, online ordering. So it was a shift for me, as I was not really accustomed to it. Even though I'm in my 20s, I wasn't really accustomed to it. So, and then I also encouraged other family members to download mobile banking and get online access, which is much easier.
Oh, yes.
Which is much
That has been my
easier.
way long before COVID.
Now, if we may continue, now the topic, I must say, before we continue, is fitting. It's very much fitting. What I wanted to ask, as I said before, we have some families that made an easy transition into the world of technology, while some, it wasn't so easy. Then you had households with mixed ages. So you probably had students in their who were like 15, 16, 17, living with their grandparents. And so that was a tricky one.
Yes.
My question, how can families utilize technology to bridge intergenerational gaps?
Okay, if I may. What we have been seeing, the reality is that we have been seeing within St. Kitts and Nevis, as we're working with families, we are starting to see a disconnection as it relates to, there are those persons maybe in their 60s, maybe not so 50s, because there are some 50s and 60-year-olds who are really in tune with technology. But we see the grandparents, the great-grandparents and the great-great-grandparents, they are more taking a backseat, a hands-off approach, because they really don't understand outside of the phone, the regular being able to make a call. And we also see those parents who were not into technology from the offset. They are, I think, somewhat afraid, because their questions are, how do I protect my child? I'm not even sure what he or she is watching. I'm not even sure what they're doing, and if it is they're really doing schoolwork. And so how can we use, what tools can we use to bridge the gap that exists? I would recommend something called teachable moments. You see, we have to be able to not only allow our older generation to appreciate what the younger generation has, but we also have to start to get our younger generation to appreciate the wealth of knowledge and information that our grandparents and great-grandparents have. So if we can utilize technology and have what I call, it's just my term, it can be whatever you want it to be, but what it looks like, teachable moments, where the family sits around maybe 1 hour, 2 hours on a weekend. And so someone, the family between the different generations, start teaching the older persons, you know, these are what the social media apps are. These are the applications that we use for school. This is how we access them. This is how we enter a password. You know, start somewhere. And then the mothers and the fathers would be able to share something from their generation. This is what we know about technology. This is how much we know. And this is what experience we have. Because experience, we need to hear those experiences. And then the grandparents and great-grandparents, and they are able to share their wealth of knowledge. And so it's like information sharing. Everybody learns. Nobody feels as if they're being left out. Everybody's information and the knowledge is valued because there is value within all of us. And so, I mean, that's one aspect. There are other ways, and I would also pass it on to my colleague if she would have anything to add. But as we go along this discussion, there are other ideas that we would put forward, and we would want to hear from the public as well. But I think being able to, we have to just let families recognize that in being able to marinate technology into our lives, we must remember what was there before the technology arrived. And so how do we mirror it? How do we marry it? It's very important, and I think conversation and just that is just something that families can talk, and maybe teachable moments may not work for them, but something else would work. But it starts with a conversation.
Do you have anything to add,
Yes,
Michelle?
and she's so correct in terms of the intergenerational gap and the teachable moments. Because when you think about it, most of the technology we have now, so for example, we had the regular calculator. For them to upgrade it, they would have to have used this one. So it's the same sort of thing. Once we talk about where this thing developed and the fact that there's always further development, then each generation could share what is happening basically in their time. And I could draw an example even from my family. My son is always playing Roblox and a lot of other stuff. But he's one who wants everybody in the family to be involved in this. So he will come and he's saying to me, Mommy, and I'm saying, what are you talking? And you know, most times you would want to get annoyed because it's not something you're interested in, and it's not, you're not a child anymore, so you really don't have interest in that kind of thing. And then one day I just said to him, you know what, teach me what Roblox is about. So that when he's talking, I could say, okay, well, so you got that, you reached that level, wonderful. So that sort of thing. And then I realized he started getting interested in other stuff that I used to talk about, older technology. So it works like that, and we bridge these gaps and we understand each other, and everybody learns.
That is awesome. And I love the suggestion that was put forward, teachable moments, because I think it's something that we can all benefit from. Because you sit down, and apart from being able to learn more about a Samsung Galaxy, or learn more about how they used the phone 30 or 40 or 50 years ago, it is also a time for bonding.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
You know, so I really do see the significant importance of that. Can you share any specific tools that families can use to seek technology as an opportunity to develop their skills and knowledge?
Yes, sure. At Family Matter Services, what we do, we don't basically work towards reinventing any wheels. We take what is already existing and we can craft it, we can tailor it to suit what is happening. We can tailor it to suit the specific different families. And so there are some very exceptional tools available on Google. there is one that I found, and it's called Be Internet Awesome. And what it does, it is an interactive platform that empowers parents and the caregivers, anybody who supervises a child, who loves and cares for a child. It provides that level of support in terms of information, and it allows caregivers to be able to connect with children. How so? It gives you all of these ideas as to how you can go about sharing with caring, sharing information while caring about your family, your information and all of that. There's a part that says don't fall for fake, which opens up the mind of young people, the minds of young people to think about it's not everything on the internet that is genuine. There are so many fake information, persons who are lurking behind fake profiles and fake age and all of that. So there's another aspect that speaks about securing your secrets, which teaches children and young people to be able to protect your family information, your addresses, your phone numbers, who is at home with you or who is not at home with you, what time your parents leave for work, and those critical information that predators can utilize to be able to prey on our children. And it's also something that says it's cool to be kind, that speaks to there is something that is out there that speaks to teaching young people to being good digital citizens. So how do you, what are the words, what are the language you use as you interact on the internet, and how do you stop bullying, how do you recognize it, how do you stop it, how do you speak out, who do you speak with? And as we go further, there's some information from this that we would like to throw out to the listening audience and just get their minds going. But this is a very good tool, and I would be able to give you the link to it. It's beinternetawesome.withgoogle.com, and it just does not only allow caregivers, parents, teachers, adults to say or to speak with children, it allows for interaction. And so the children can go to their games that the children play, and while they're playing the game, they're learning about keeping passwords secure and information secure and things like that. There are so many things support resources that are online. You just have to go into Google and you search, you read for its authenticity, you make sure that it is verified information, and then and that is where we got this one from. And so this is something, a document that can be used to just teach parents just the basics, but it's critical information.
Alicia, I'm glad that you mentioned fake profiles, fake information, misinformation, things like that. As we continue to use technology, we begin to see the loopholes. For example, Snapchat. You can see someone's live location. So if you want to know where Michelle is, you can just go on Snapchat and look for Michelle, and you can say, well, Michelle is in Connery. And WhatsApp, you can share live location. I think you have the option to share a live location and just your current location. If you share your live location, I think you can follow that person for a period of time. So the truth is, there are certain apps within the world of technology that there are many disadvantages to it. And sometimes if you're not on your guard, you may be caught in a difficult position where somebody is stalking you, and you don't even know. You don't even know. And also, there's a saying, maybe not a saying, but it's often said that when you post something to social media or you upload something to social media and you delete it, it's not permanently deleted.
No, it's in some cloud somewhere.
It's in some cloud somewhere.
Yes.
So it's deleted from your page for that time, but a few years down the road, you can go back and search, and if you do a proper search,
Yes, you see.
you will be able to find it. So my question is, what are some of the ways that families can empower children and youth to protect themselves as they are engaged with technology?
I think, and my colleague would lend some support as well. I think, and as I would have said first, knowing, getting the information, because you can't move forward if you don't know. And so I think the onus is on families to be able to be versed, to learn more, to reach out. And it's on all of us as well. It's an all of society approach, because there are some families who you would have mentioned at the beginning who are more advanced in technology than others. And so we have to start getting parents to think about building parental support groups. I remember, I think it was like 2 years ago, I was in conversation with a friend of mine in Trinidad, and she was telling me about some things that were going on in her family, and she was with a young person, her teen, I think he was 13 then, 13, 14, and she was panicking. And I asked her, because, you know, you have to probe to be able to chart a way forward. And I asked her, are you aware of who your child's friends are? Do you know their parents? Do you know their grandparents? Do you know the persons who are influential in their lives? And she was saying, you know, she knows some of them. And my recommendation to her was, make a contact. Get your child to write down the names of his or her friends, those who are more dear to him, who he spends a lot of time with. You don't have to let him know what you're trying to achieve there, but, you know, be creative. And when you get that list, contact all of the parents or the caregivers of those children. And you all have a meeting and you start a parent support group. You don't have to wait on the government to do it. You don't have to wait on the church to do it. You don't have to wait on a group or organization to do it. Within that parent support group, set ground rules. What are things that are of value in your family? What are the things that you value, and what it is that you want your children to value? And so start finding, look for all of the things that you all have in common, and start from that common place, and then you work your way up. So then you create a group chat. From that, you create a group chat. Every time a child leaves to go to another parent's home, everyone in that parent support group should know. And if there is a child that is being introduced into this bubble, this circle, whatever you want to call it, then you have to do your due diligence and find out about the parents, the caregivers of this other child. And so, I mean, I was just thinking as she called, you know, she was venting and she really wanted, and I told her, try that. And then, you know, I was messaging her to find out how is it going. She said, you know, I'm like pulling out my hair, because, you know, some of the parents, they don't see the reason for us to get together. I said, so that information is good information, because then you have an idea as to the parents who really want to well, it's not even, because sometimes you do care about your child or your children, and you want to protect them, but you don't have the time. And so I told her, start working with those who are readily available and work your way up. Not because they cannot be there in person doesn't mean that you can't send a voice message or WhatsApp, a Facebook message, whatever means that. It doesn't mean you can't call. But start with who the persons are interested. And she called me like 2 months after, and she said, girl, it's as if we started a movement here, because now we have other parents who want their children to be a part of what we have created, and it's for you. It's you creating a safe, protected space for your children to be able to connect and to socialize with each other. Because instead of back then, our grandparents used to say, keep from this person, keep away from that person. But it's not working. And so how can we still maintain, but I know they were trying to protect us. So how can we continue to protect our children and allowing them, you know, part of what we do is about being able to know when a caregiver should protect and when to permit. So how can we protect our children and still allow them to explore, still allow them to connect, still allow them to socialize? And so it's parent support groups, you don't have to wait. It can just be parents who have the common interest, your child. Your children already connected, that's common.
Michelle, you have something to add?
And to add to that, I think it also goes back to building a type of relationship with your child.
Correct.
Because even before maybe your child would have had his first cell phone, you would have been talking to him or her about privacy. Things that happen in your home, they stay here. Because I remember when my daughter, when they just started a group chat, she was saying that some of her classmates, they had their phones on video, walking through their houses and going about. And so she came to me with it and she was saying, you know, these people really just want to see in my house, so they're showing theirs first. And then she said, Mommy, I remember when you told me information like that remains private because you don't know. Yes, the person might have a good intention. Maybe you just want to be friendly, you want to show them, okay, this is how my house looks, or this is what is happening at home. But somebody could use it for some destructive purpose.
Yes.
So that's all I think. So we have to develop that relationship with the children because we figure that because children are always using different means of technology that they know how to use them responsibly. We really have to talk to them about that. Certain pictures, you don't need to post those.
Yes.
And you have to be careful too. Sometimes you're multitasking. They're on the phone doing something, and maybe they have the gallery open. You don't even realize when you click something, the picture is there.
Yes.
It can't go away.
I am, not to cut you off, but I'm so glad you mentioned that. It has happened and continues to happen to a lot of people.
Yeah.
These smartphones, you're using your phone, and sometimes I see people use the phone, and instead of locking the phone, they just drop it down.
Yep.
And then when you catch yourself, you sent out a number of pictures. You called people you were not supposed to call.
You're recording.
You're recording.
Exactly.
You sent out a voice note, and you don't even realize.
Yes.
So you have to be so careful when you are using technology, especially for those people who are not as tech savvy or who really understand how to use a smartphone
Even those
or a
of us who
computer.
are tech savvy,
Yes.
because if you remember when with COVID and homeschooling, there was so many videos that were going. They were funny, but it opened my eyes because I mean you have a child there, they're live in classroom, the parents totally forget, and they're behind, they're getting dressed or undressing,
Yes.
and they're having
Yes.
conversation. And like by the time the child is videotaping, and the toddlers, from the moment they learn how to videotape.
yes.
Oh, that's it.
They're recording
Oh my
everything.
goodness. They record everything. Sometimes they go through your phone and
You're surprised.
when was this taken? How, and then so we have to be mindful, and it's the same thing. Passwords, securing your phones, your tablets with passwords. Google also has a platform. I love Google because I mean they also have this platform where you're able to connect all of the devices that you have. So every device, the parent, the caregiver, you have the responsibility. You are able to access the other person's tablet. You're able to shut it down. You're able, and I was going through it, and it's a very useful tool. And so, and as Michelle would have said, we have to continue to have these conversations with our children and set these ground rules at home. And even as we continue to connect with other parents to build support groups or whatever we'd want to call them, but we still have to have these guiding principles at home. And so it starts within the family.
Ladies, let us take a short break to say thank you to our sponsors. It is 40 minutes past the hour of 11. We're going to open the phone lines when we come back. to hear from our callers. You are listening to Inside the News on WinFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius, and I have Alicia Collins and Michelle Ann Neal from the counseling unit here in St. Kitts.
TDC Automotive is paying for you. Deposit? We're paying. 3-month installments? We're paying. Pay nothing for 3 months because we are paying. Take a moment, catch your breath, and roll out with ease. Save over $20,000 off your new Toyota Hiace because TDC Automotive is paying. Get your Toyota Hiace today. TDC Automotive, #1 for a reason. Terms and conditions apply.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects or sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
Welcome back to Inside the News on 1FM 98.9. I'm here with Alicia Collins and Michelle and Neal, both of whom are family counselors within the counseling unit in the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs. And of course, the conversation is centered around families and technology. As I've said before, it is quite fitting. We are in COVID-19. Our country, other countries across the Caribbean region have seen lockdowns, curfews, and so it was really a time for families to bond. It was really a time for families to exchange ideas and for them to learn new ways of using technology. Before we left, we spoke about some of the disadvantages of the technology in terms of some of the things that can happen if you're not careful or if you're not taking your time when using technology. And I am glad when Alicia mentioned making sure that your devices have passwords, the tablets, the phones, you name it. Sometimes, as a parent, you would have your cell phone, and you would think it is safe to have it just lying around, just there. no password. And let's just say you're a doctor, you're a medical doctor, and all of your patient details are in there. And as a doctor, there is that confidentiality agreement that you have to adhere to. And so if your patient is suffering from an illness, only you and the patient are supposed to know. And your child is using your phone, and maybe it is not intentional, but it gets out there. And so that is just one example. That is just one example of why we should use the passwords. It's not that you don't trust anyone, but just to be on the safe side, you have your phone as a parent line around your tablet, computer. Make sure you have your passwords and make sure you know what your child. But in fact, I don't even think your child should have your phone and your tablet.
But the reality is, it happens because I think parents, caregivers, sometimes they're so overwhelmed, and we have persons who are working 3, 4, 5 jobs just to be able to feed, support their families. And so, conveniently, you get home, you're tired, and we're all guilty of it. You get home, you're tired, and the first thing the child is, I want the tablet, I want the phone, and you want to get dinner done, you want to be able to settle, you want to be able to wash, and you just said, okay. And I saw UNICEF, there is this article that UNICEF has that says, baby need humans and not screens. And it goes on to outline how many negative effects that screen time can have on the minds of babies, the lives, the mental aspect of their upgrowing and so forth. And so it's very easy for us to just hand the children these gadgets, but we have to start to think about the long-term and psychological effects that doing so would have. And as one of the premise of our work is, supervision is a team sport, and no one parent, no one caregiver can supervise a child, and so it's for us to think about how our daily lives, what happens from the day-to-day basis, and how are we able to set up different persons at different times to assist us in supervising our children. So as we are preparing our meals, who can be that person who can engage them, whether it's the teenager, whether it's the neighbor, whether it's an aunt, a grandparent, a great-grandparent, but be able to sit and look at a typical day in your life and try as much as possible to plan out the supervision of that child for the week, your busiest time during the week.
Thank you. We have some callers that are trying to get in. Do we still have the caller on the line? We have the caller on the line. Caller, good morning. You are live on Inside the News.
Good morning, Devon.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm giving God thanks as usual. He has been merciful and gracious to us. So I advise people to be careful, Now, I am quite interested in what the ladies are saying. Well, I no longer with children, but I had grandchildren. I even lost a computer because I put in the parental control, and of course, they inquisited him. So he shut down the system and I forgot the code. I couldn't get it unlocked.
Oh, Lord.
I never thought about writing it down because the child knew it was on, but they still tried,
It happens.
Yeah.
Now, do you give private counseling? Because I have a situation, not me personally, I know a relative who has had to take the phone and the tablet away from the young teenager, right, in school. And some of what you're saying would be able to do it.
Well,
so, can parents or guardians come to your office or whatever, or you could reach them and assist them? Because it is frustrating about the child
Correct.
and the parent or the guardian, because believe me, you talk to them, But once they get behind your back, they're going to try.
Yes, that's true.
Right.
We talk all the talk about privacy, yes, auntie, yes, granny, yes, daddy, yes, mommy. And when they go to school, I recall one of my granddaughters. She must have was in third form, third grade 3, in a primary school. She come home and said, Granny, some of the children that be on Red Book, for me, no one near Red Book.
Thank you, Ms. McGree. We have some of the callers trying to get in. We'll have the young lady respond.
I wondered, she didn't answer. Can you give
She responded now.
Yes, thank you very much for your call, and thanks for your interest. We do. There's a referral process. We are located at Limekiln in the counseling unit. There's a referral, not Limekiln, sorry, Ways Garden, sorry. There is a referral form that parents, anyone can refer a child, the school, parents. There's a referral form that the persons would have to fill to give a little history of the child, what are some of the challenges that they're experiencing, and our administrative personnel would be able to make contact, and then we would go from there. Our number is 465-5000, 5000, 465. And so once you call, you ask for about the Family Matters Services, and you would be able to get information as it relates to the referral form and the referral process. Thank you very much for that question.
And thank you again, caller, so much for your contribution. We are still taking your calls here on 1FM 98.9 for another edition of Inside the News. It is 11:52, so we are winding down. We'll take a break at 12 for the headline news. Do we have any more callers? For those of you who are listening for the first time, the numbers to call are 466-0989, 762, and 662. Call us today and be a part of the discussion. If we have no more callers, if you ladies have anything else that you would like to add, you can certainly do so now.
Okay, sure. There is this recommendation that UNICEF would have made as it relates to families and the technologies, and I am reading what UNICEF has. There, but I'm going to paraphrase. They spoke about governments working to train health, educational, and service workers about the impact of COVID-19 and the well-being of children and the increased online risks. And how can we continue as a people to provide that level of support to families? It also spoke about including social networking sites and safe online platforms, and to be able to have those accessible to parents, to teachers, and to children. And they also spoke about the private and public sector partnering to increase the various investments in the safe technologies and the content that promotes quality learning, skill buildings, and all of those. So this goes to show that there is no one department, there is no one entity, there is no one person who has the answer. It takes an all of society approach, and I would have mentioned that, and my colleague would have also mentioned that as well. And so how can we continue to move forward, knowing that in the Caribbean we were way behind in technology as it relates to the education aspect of it. And so now, we are introducing all of these new technologies within the schools. How can we provide that level of support to parents? I know there are PTA groups within the various schools. How can we get training ongoing? And then, still having to adhere to all of the protocols. How can we use technology to do some of these trainings? Right. And so it takes all of us putting our heads together, putting our hearts together, and to be able to work towards sustaining our families. And in all of this, even though we want to continue to introduce technology, how can we continue to encourage families to connect physically, and so not just looking at screen time, but those physical time as well. So backyard gardening, excellent, because we have, in my years of community development, I was pushing backyard gardening a lot because it not only bonds the family together, it also looks at food safety, and to be able to teach them about food security and the things, the herbs, the thyme, the seasoned peppers that we spend so much money to buy. I mean, give the children the seed, you go out, you plant the seeds with them, and you watch this miracle happen before your eyes, you see it grow, and they're able to pick the fruits of their labor. And so all of these things, they seem very small and minute, but they have huge impacts.
Thank you so much. Ms. Neal, do you have anything you would like to add?
Yes, to add to that, even with backyard gardening and so on, remember there are also new technologies as it relates to farming and all of these things. And the children too would be more into that. So say, for example, we're using our traditional methods of farming or whatever we're doing in the backyard. They could come and say, Mom, you know, they invented this thing, and we could do it this way. And bonding and teachable moments, as Ms. Collins said.
Awesome. It is 11:56. We're winding down. I don't think we have any more callers on the line. But for those of you who are just tuning in, you are listening to Inside the News on Wind FM 98.9. Again, I have Michelle and Neil and Alicia Collins of the Counseling Unit within the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs. As you're winding down, what I wanted to ask, now that we're in COVID-19, having to adhere to the protocols of social distancing, the wearing of face masks and all of this, how challenging has it been to still facilitate some families in doing counseling sessions or anything of that sort?
Well, we too had to get creative. So even during the lockdowns, we were still doing family consultations. We had to resort to Zoom, we had to resort to WhatsApp video calls, anything, Google, anything.
Microsoft Teams.
Microsoft.
Yeah.
Any platform that was there, we were actually supported families with giving them a little stipend so they can keep their data going, so we can reach them. And so these are things that we have to consider. And so some of the families, we had to introduce them to new technologies, but it worked because we were able to get them to settle and to continue, and they were able to share what their experiences were and how we can continue to support them. So we too turned to technology, and it worked.
Awesome. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because the COVID pandemic, posed a lot of challenges, and we're still, even here in the Federation, facing those challenges. However, that is why I said from the beginning, this theme is rather fitting. Advancing yourself in technology, understanding the importance and advantages of using technology, but at the same time being on your guard and making sure that you're using it for the right things and the right purposes. As we wind down, it is 1 minute to the hour. I'll just allow you to give your final comments before we take a break at 12 for the headline news.
Okay, so what my final comment is, as we continue to accept and we continue to adapt to all of the new technologies, we still have to make sure that it is married with physical contact, and that is very vital to family growth and family development. So we have to create that balance. And so once we have the opportunity to talk about more of creating the balance, we are here, we are open to do so.
Thank you. Ms. Neal, do you have anything to add?
Well, on the same note, it's the same thing. Once we realize that technology is actually advancing more, and we really have to get into that, but we still have to strike the balance, spending time with the family. So we're allotting time to technology and time for physical bonding.
Quality time. Quality.
Thank you so much. This was another edition of Inside the News on Wind FM 98.9. I was your host for today, Devon Cornelius, and as mentioned before, representing the counseling unit within the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs, were Alicia Collins and Michelle Ann Neal, both of whom are family counselors. We'll take a break right now for the headline news, and we will be back at 12:30 to have the second half. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to WinFM 98.9. Stay tuned.
Found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and Development Bank.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Everyone struggles at times. Even we too have our own struggles. Do you have a loan at the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis and have fallen behind on your payments because of financial difficulties? Have your financial situation changed? If your answer is yes, visit the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis or call 465-2288, extension 1101 or 469-5416 to make an appointment to discuss our debt evaluation and restructuring plan with one of our qualified officers. We are committed to working with you to make a sustained positive difference in your life.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Robust Contact Tracing International without travel history, who works in the local hospitality sector and was not vaccinated, tested positive for the coronavirus has confirmed 3 new cases of the virus, pushing the total number of confirmed cases since last year to 49. Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris addressed the nation at close to 9 p.m. Friday.
This evening, I wish to update you on the present situation. Through the Ministry of Health, a robust contact tracing exercise began on Wednesday, May 19, 2021, and it revealed the following. Over 22 persons related to the recently confirmed cases have been placed in quarantine and tested. Over the last 2 days, 315 close contacts of these cases were identified and tested. As of tonight, 229 results were returned from the lab. 226 were negative and 3 are positive. We are awaiting results of 86 samples.
Dr. Harris offered these details of the new cases.
The details of the cases are as follows. Case 47 is an imported case. The individual is an inbound passenger from Argentina who arrived in the Federation on May 9, 2021. The individual is stable and in isolation at a COVID-19 certified hotel. Case number 48 is a national who also does not have a travel history but had significant contact with case number 47. Case number 49 is a national who is a close relative of case number 46. In summary, the investigations so far have revealed that case number 46 also had significant contact with imported case number 47, and case number 48 works at the same facility and may have had similar exposure. Case number 49 is a household contact of case 46. The process of contact tracing and testing will continue.
The Prime Minister also outlined new measures that take effect from 6 o'clock this morning.
From 6 a.m. tomorrow, Saturday, May the 22nd, the following applies. With regards to events, no mass events or jam sessions will be allowed. I repeat, no mass events or jam sessions will be allowed as they have the potential to be super spreaders. With respect to sporting activities, over the next 2 weeks, football matches and sporting activities can be held only with the permission of the Commissioner of Police. However, only fully vaccinated patrons with identification will be allowed entry. All the other COVID-19 prevention and control measures must be faithfully observed. With respect to bars, the strip, and nightlife in generally, the recommendation is that bars can be allowed to operate up until 12 p.m. midnight daily, with the last hour of operation being 11 p.m. to 12 midnight. Bars should be closed between 12 midnight and 6 a.m. for the next 2 weeks in the first instance. No bands are allowed at bars. However, moderate house music is acceptable. Please note that all COVID-19 prevention and control measures must be complied with. Regarding public transport, there should be enforcement of the COVID-19 prevention and control measures. These are the wearing of face masks and entering the bus or ferry, and for the full duration of the trip. Hand sanitization at the entrance. Windows should be opened as much as possible. The ferry operators should continue with temperature checks along with documentation of the contact information of all travelers. With respect to church, weddings, and funerals, these can be held and conducted in a responsible manner. The wearing of the face mask, hand sanitization, and adequate physical distancing must be observed. With respect to our beaches, no mass events or beach fests are allowed until further notice. It will still take some time for us to defeat COVID-19. The developments of the past couple days show how quickly COVID-19 can spread. They show that we cannot take anything for granted as we battle this deadly and dangerous virus. They reinforce that our critical defense against the virus is to be vaccinated. It only takes one person to create a spread. We can take some reassurance that the processes and systems we have in place to detect infections early and to deal with them are working effectively in St. Kitts and Nevis. Our testing process is working. This means we can quickly identify who may be carrying the virus and ensure they receive the proper attention. Our tracing system is working. This means that we can identify those who may have been exposed to the virus early and provide them with the care and attention that they deserve and need.
The Chamber of Industry and Commerce is again calling on businesses to actively enforce COVID-19 protocols. In a press release issued Friday, the Chamber commended the authorities for their swift response to the latest confirmed case of COVID-19 and reminded the private sector that approved public events have been cancelled. Quote, "We wish to implore and remind our members, non-members, and the general business community at large to continue to engage, adhere, and enforce the non-pharmaceutical COVID-19 prevention measures as stipulated in the COVID-19 Prevention and Control Act. The business community is reminded that all employees and patrons entering their business places must wear masks covering their nose, sanitize upon entrance, and temperature checks where possible, maintain a physical distance of 6 feet, and exercise good hygiene practices throughout the day." End quote. The COVID-19 compliance team will be stepping up compliance enforcement to ensure full compliance with the public health measures at all business establishments and other public spaces, the release added. Quote, "The Chamber further advises and encourages all business owners, employers, managers, and their team members to continue to support roll-up to roll-out vaccination program to achieve our goal of 70% herd immunity. There is simply no time like the present to make an extra effort and a decision to protect yourself and your family in the uncertain days ahead." End.
Investigations have been launched into circumstances surrounding an incident in which a man was shot in the hand. Preliminary inquiries into a report received by the police close to 11 p.m. on Thursday, May 20th, 2021, revealed that Lavington Fobbs of Hamilton presented himself at the Alexandra Hospital with a gunshot wound to the hand. Investigations into the matter are ongoing. The police are making an appeal to anyone who might have any information in relation to this incident to call the Violent Crime Unit at 469-5269 or 663-5414. The Charlestown Police Station at 469-5391 or their nearest police station. The police are investigating a report of an armed robbery incident that occurred at an establishment in Charlestown. The police received a report on May 17, 2021, that a man was robbed of a sum of money by an unknown masked assailant sometime after 10 p.m. while at the establishment. The assailant was armed with what appeared to be a gun. Investigations into the matter are ongoing. Education Minister urges students to double their efforts in exam preparation. The Nevis Newscast reports.
The Ministry of Education is urging the Federation's secondary and tertiary level students to double their efforts so that at the end of this school year, they will be pleased with their overall performance. The Honorable Jonell Powell made the call in his May 14th address to the nation.
The necessary entities within the Ministry of Education are currently making the necessary provisions for our secondary school students in Forms 1 to 3 to sit the end-of-year common examinations in the following areas: Communication Studies, Oral, Paper 1 and Paper 2, Mathematics, Paper 1 and Paper 2, and Integrated Science, Paper 1 and Paper 2. Students have already been apprised that the examinations will be administered during the period of 27th May to 18th June 2021.
The Education Minister also advised that Caribbean Examination Council CXC exams will be administered later than usual.
CAPE and CSEC examinations would run from 14th June to 16th July 2021. And CCSLC examinations would be within the week of 19th to 23rd July 2021.
Minister of Education, the Honorable Jonell Powell.
The countdown is on for what some seasoned commentators are describing as one of the most consequential elections in St. Lucia's recent history. That in mind, the ruling United Workers' Party is leaving little to chance. Member of the UWP's campaign committee, Nancy Charles, says the party is launching its website on the 21st of May, all part of its preparation for the day of reckoning.
The election date is drawing very, very close. The political leader and Prime Minister will make his announcement as soon as the time is ready. That is not in our hands. However, you know, as the old people say, you have to move forward. You have to start your campaigning. So we are launching now to give people opportunities to be able to go through the website and also perhaps to make comments in terms of additional features that they would like to see on the website. That will give us the opportunity to continue to upgrade it. Maybe there are certain things that people are looking for and they can find it and they can recommend it can be on our website. So for example, our past UWP music, our current music, etc. would be featured on the website. So it's really an opportunity for us to say we are ready. It's an opportunity for us to say to our members, if you need more information on various activities, various projects, things that are happening, things you need to know, is that opportunity for you to get that type of information. If you have not made up your mind which is the best party to vote for, we're giving you that opportunity now to go get the information, look at what it is that we're offering, and then you will determine whether the United Workers' Party is the best party for you at this time to support in the upcoming elections.
The first deputy leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party and its candidate for Castries South, Dr. Ernest Hilaire, says St. Lucians are clamoring for clarity on the date for the general elections.
If you ask the average St. Lucian, when are elections called, and they will tell you elections is called before 5 years of the last election. It is what has been convention. Of course, we do have 3 occasions where, since we've had adult suffrage, where we've had elections just over the 5 years since the last election. In 1979, the United Workers' Party went beyond the 5 years. In 1997, the United Workers' Party went beyond the 5 years. And I think in 2006, Kenny Anthony went beyond the 5 years by about a week. In all three instances, the party, the government lost the election. And that's what we have gotten accustomed to. People expect that they voted a government and that it has a life of 5 years.
A recent statement by Prime Minister Alan Chastanet on the dating of elections ignited passionate reaction, resulting in clarification from the Government Information Service. The United Workers' Party's Nancy Charles says the Prime Minister has given the assurance that he will not go beyond the constitutionally mandated date.
And the Prime Minister has given assurances time and time again that he will not breach the Constitution. We will not go past the constitutional date. As you know, convention is that the date of elections has always been determined by the political leader / Prime Minister of the day, and that will remain. We will not subscribe to the pressures from the opposition to call the elections at their bidding, but the elections will be called at the purview, as has always been the convention, of the sitting Prime Minister / political leader, and we will keep to that.
Dr. Ernest Hilaire says the conflicting messages from the Prime Minister and his team are adding another layer of unwanted confusion in these troubled times.
We've been told, well, it's not really 5 years since last elections. Don't expect that. The Constitution says 5 years since the first sitting of Parliament. I'm sure over 90% of St. Lucians never even heard of that before. So then, okay, if it is 5 years since the first sitting of Parliament, it would be around July 12th or somewhere around there. And people expected elections to be called no later than that date. And now we're hearing that the Prime Minister in Parliament at the last sitting is saying that he has the 3 months extension provided for by the Constitution. Again, most St. Lucians didn't even know that, and most St. Lucians do not expect the government to do that. We expect elections to be held. It's the constitutional right of people. We are in a situation where St. Lucians should be given the opportunity to decide whether or not they want this government to continue or a new government to handle the crisis that we're facing.
The UWP's campaign committee member, Nancy Charles, says the party has focused on keeping its membership informed on what the law says on the date of elections, suggesting the SLP should do likewise.
The United Workers' Party has ensured that we have educated the public in terms of the timing for general election. And so everybody would appreciate that the date for general election or your 5 years is up at the first sitting of the parliamentary when you came into office. And we do know that is set in July 12th. So at the end of the day, we know that July 12th will be our 5 years and not June 6th, as it been perpetuated by the St. Lucia Labour Party.
The first deputy leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party says the holding of the general elections is too sacred a matter for the governing party to play around with.
I think people are traumatized enough by the pandemic that we don't need uncertainty as to when elections will be called. And the latest we're hearing is that it has to be, it's predicated on the vaccines and whether we get herd immunity in St. Lucia. Now that one has become a little absurd, and of course associated with it, we're hearing that, you know, the Prime Minister has been filling out international institutions and other governments as to what their reaction would be if elections are postponed beyond the 3 months after the first sitting, which means beyond October. Now, when you juxtapose his comments about herd immunity, which cannot be achieved by October, and the talk of he filling out foreign institutions and governments, it really makes you wonder, why is it this government that has proclaimed that they work so well and the people have so much confidence in them and they're going to win 16 seats, why don't they call the elections? Why is there even talk of taking the 3 month extension? Why is there even talk of going beyond the 5 years since the last elections? Why is there even talk of postponing elections because of herd immunity? I think this is an insult to St. Lucians.
Central to the ongoing dispute on the dating of the general elections is whether the government is attempting to go beyond the dictates of the Constitution, a charge the United Workers' Party strongly denies. But Dr. Ernest Hilaire argues that the conflicting signals being sent by the Prime Minister and the breach of the elections conventions tell a different story. Stanley Lucian for the HTS News Force.
Director of the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Carissa Etienne, says there is an urgent need for more vaccines for Latin America and the Caribbean as the region has been put to the test by this pandemic. Speaking at PAHO's media briefing on Wednesday, Dr. Etienne said Trinidad and Tobago was among 2 other Caribbean islands seeing a rise in COVID-19 related deaths. She said last week there were over 1.2 million new COVID cases and 31,000 deaths reported in the Americas.
COVID infections dropped throughout the region in the last month, offering some reprieve to our beleaguered health systems. But 3 out of the 5 countries in the world with the highest numbers of new infections are in the Americas. And many Caribbean islands like the Bahamas, Haiti, and Trinidad and Tobago are seeing COVID deaths double in the last week.
Since the pandemic began in TNT in March 2020, the most deaths have been recorded in May 2021. Over 400 million COVID-19 vaccines have been administered in the Americas, but Dr. Etienne said the majority was administered in the United States.
The glaring gaps in access to COVID vaccines throughout Latin America and the Caribbean are a symptom of our region's over-dependence on imports for essential medical supplies. Less than 4% of medical products in use during the COVID response have come from the region. That means more than 90% have been sourced out of the region.
Dr. Etienne said expanding the region's capacity to manufacture strategic medical supplies, especially vaccines, is a must for health security. She said that Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, and Cuba have well-established manufacturing plants that have helped immunize generations of Latin Americans.
Seven people were shot in the West Kingston Police Division Thursday evening, including 2 toddlers. In the first incident about 6:45, 3 people were shot. 1 died. The deceased has been identified as Shane Williams, otherwise called Teddy. The police say Williams was wanted for several murders and shootings. It's understood that he confronted members of the JDF stationed at the Zone of Special Operations post in Denhamtown at the intersection of Beeston and Oxford Streets, where he was shot and killed. A woman and a 1-year-old boy were also shot and injured from stray bullets. In the second incident along Little King Street, 3 more people were shot, 1 fatally. The deceased is 32-year-old vendor Chrisette Martin. It's reported that she was standing along the road when she was approached by a lone gunman who shot and killed her. Another female and a toddler were also shot. That shooting happened approximately 7:30. In another incident, a man was shot and killed off Maxfield Avenue in a community called Rome. Police have not yet released details about that incident.
We now bring you this international report.
Emergency service workers in Assam State disinfect the Bora family home in Chamorga village, a practice to reassure nervous neighbors. Inside, Chandra Bora is in mourning after the death of his son Pulmoni. 2 days after the 27-year-old recovered from COVID-19, he fell ill with a rare infection called mucormycosis or black fungus.
He had difficulty breathing, so we took him to the hospital. The doctor in Deeng said nothing can be done here and referred him to Nagaon. After reaching Nagaon, they said we can't do anything here. Take him to Guwahati. Then we admitted him to Apollo Hospital. He was kept there for 5 days, after which we found out that he died at 6 in the morning.
Pulmoni is one of more than 200 Indians who've died from mucormycosis this year. More than 8,000 have been infected. Like many with mucormycosis, Pulmoni not only had COVID-19 recently, but was also diabetic. Doctors say coronavirus patients with diabetes and a weakened immune system are particularly prone to infection. They believe the use of steroids to treat severe COVID-19 could be contributing to the condition.
India is a pre-diabetic population, largely in the younger to the middle-aged group, and that makes them a little bit more prone to high sugar levels. And something like a steroid really jacks up the sugar level in most of the cases. It provides an excellent opportunity for an invasive fungal infection to take root inside the body and spread as it is doing.
Mucormycosis causes discoloration over the eyes and nose, blurred vision, chest pain, and breathing difficulties. In some cases, doctors have to remove one or both eyes or part of the jaw to stop the disease from spreading.
My friend who was suffering from black fungus infection had a surgery 3 days back and his jaw was removed. The doctor has also said that they need to remove his eye as well to save his life. And I'm having problems finding him injections for 3 days. The government has taken over the medicine outlet, and this hospital says that they also have 70 patients for whom they need the medicine. Do we let our patient die?
Many states are running out of the expensive medicine used to treat the infection.
As cases of mucormycosis rise, Delhi is setting up special wards in 3 hospitals to treat patients, while the High Court has asked the government to immediately import medicine from overseas. Assam and a number of other states have declared mucormycosis an epidemic. Elizabeth Puranam, Al Jazeera, New Delhi.
That was the Win FM Headline News. The Win FM Headline News was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and Development Bank.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects or sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Everyone struggles at times. Even we too have our own struggles. Do you have a loan at the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis and have fallen behind on your payments because of financial difficulties? Have your financial situation changed? If your answer is yes, visit the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis or call 465-2288, extension 1101 or 469-5416 to make an appointment to discuss our debt evaluation and restructuring plan with one of our qualified officers. We are committed to working with you to make a sustained positive difference in your life.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Found the sound. 98.9. People make the world go
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Know that you captured those special moments. Turn them into lasting memories at the TDC Business Center. Purchase your photo print bundle and get a chance to win a Canon MG3010 printer. Click and print. Visit TDC Business Center today.
People make the world go
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Inside the News. This is 1FM 98.9. I'm your host for this afternoon, Devon Cornelius, and I am here with, as I mentioned before, some representatives from the counseling unit within the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs. Joining us for the first half were Alicia Collins and Michelle Ann Neal. And for the second half, we have Dr. Ricardo Neal. As mentioned before, the conversation is centered around families and technology. You know, we are in the COVID-19 era, and the shift to technology has been, let me say, great. People are shifting to technology. More people are using smartphones, online services, and I think this conversation is indeed timely. Good afternoon to all of you who have joined us via Radio Land. Of course, those of you who have joined via social media, our different social media online platforms. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have a new guest. I'll allow for him to say a little bit about himself, and we will head right into our discussion for today.
Yes, so thank you very much, Mr. Cornelius. Hope I get that right.
Yes.
I want to say thanks for having me here. It's always a pleasure to be here. My name is Dr. Ricardo Neal, founder of the St. Kitts and Nevis Robotics Association, chairperson for that organization. And also I'm here with in the capacity of lecturer within the IT program. So I guess that put me in a good position to probably contribute to the conversation.
Definitely, and thank you so much, Dr. Neil, for accepting our invitation here at WinFM, and I look forward to having this discussion. As Alicia hinted before, that you have a lot of experience in the field of technology, and it's not exactly what she said, but thank you so much. So we're going to continue with our conversation this afternoon. We're talking about technology, we're talking about families, and we're talking about how the world, has changed with how families are utilizing technology, encouraging families to use technology. I'll allow for you to begin.
Yeah, technology. Now, technology in itself is what I classify as an integrated facet in anyone's life at this point in time. When we look on the statistics across the world, around about 75% of the population would be connected at any given time. And those numbers came from the United Nations. Within St. Kitts and Nevis, I think our use of the internet last year, the percentage was around 95% of persons active online. So not necessarily connectivity, meaning that you're connected within your homes, but connected at some point in time. So the ratio within St. Kitts and Nevis is very, very high, which simply means that it affects the family, which means that in some way it has some kind of effect, whether good or bad, and we can get into that as we go along. Well, I want to scale back and look at a paper that was written by Susan Walker, and she is the associate professor in the Family, Social and Science Department in the university, one of the universities in the States. And she actually pointed out the positive effects of the internet within the homes. And she balanced it out with some of the drawbacks. I don't want to use the word negative too much, drawbacks, because that's a reality now that we have to use, depend on the internet. And so she emphasized that within the homes, it is important for families to interact using the same technology that we have. Why? Because there's no getting around it. All right? And there's a saying, if you can't beat them, join them. And so that has become a part of the family structure. And so it means then there has to be some kind of policy guidelines now within the homes to govern how technology is used. And that in itself will actually put the family in a good position, given that the pandemic forces us, if you will, in that direction.
Thank you so much, Dr. Neil. Now, we were having a conversation earlier with Ms. Neil and Ms. Collins, and they spoke more so on the family aspect of the conversation, which was very, very much informative, a number of ideas that all of us would be able to apply to our everyday lives. And of course, those families that were tuned in, it was a quick lesson for them. But some of the questions that I posed earlier, I think I would want to pose them to you to hear your response. Now, as technology continues to evolve and its use continues to grow, how can families use this to their advantage?
I think technology, every time I'm called to give a lecture, I always, and I'm not lecturing now, so don't be afraid. So for the public, for those of you who know me, they always say, Mr. Neil is always shelling it, all right? So the technology, as I stated before, it's not going anywhere, all right? Is what it is, and we were preaching that years ago. In 1994, 1993, when the dawn of the internet started, you have companies who vowed that they would never use the internet because it's not safe. And they would never do transaction online because it's not safe. However, from that time leading up to now, if you notice what happens now, if you're not operating online, 50% of your business, or 60, or sometimes 80%, sometimes 90% of the business is lost because you need the connectivity across the world. Now, having this kind of power in the home means that it can keep family connected. So I might have my brother I might have my cousin, I might have my spouse overseas. They're working and I'm here in St. Kitts. I can connect to them easily and have the family structure still go on. And because the technology would have increased over time, you find that now we can use our FaceTime. We can now, see persons, and then we are working on virtual technology now, where you can somewhat interact with the person in a virtual world. So technology has this positive effect where it allows family to integrate together right now as we speak.
My follow-up question would be, what are some of the loopholes in using technology? I know there are a number of advantages, as you mentioned earlier, with businesses today not utilizing technology, not being online, not using the internet. You suffer a loss.
Yeah, and so if I should scale it back to the family, now you have working class family, persons out there working overseas, and they're out of the home, and so whenever you have a home where one parent is and the other one is not, there's an imbalance there, and so there's a need for something now to bridge that gap, and that is one of the positive effects of the technological effect that we have now, where there can be constant connectivity between who is overseas and those who are here. And then the other benefit is that the young people today is not like the young people yesterday. They're all into the technology. They're into it. You can give them a phone and keep the manual that comes with it, and they'll figure it out. As a matter of fact, they don't need a manual. They take the box. They say, "Mommy, thank you for the phone. Daddy, thank you for the phone." They throw away the box and take out the phone and turn it on and just start to interact. Right? Yeah, and that's a natural thing that is in them. So we're in an age of information. So the young people are in tune with that, and so it gives them that positive effect where they can, okay, daddy's not here, let me just give daddy a call. Aunt is not here, grandma is overseas, let me just give him a call. So it's easy to have that connectivity among the family. Now, when we look on the other effect, really negative effect, and negative effects, because so much information is out there, and because it is so easy to reach for data, you find that there has to be some kind of control measures in place to control the use of the internet. All right? And that is where the homes now would have to implement what I call family policies. Family policies that will give certain time, what we call screen time. So a child have a certain screen time. And after a certain screen time, then they should go and play. Or they should be interacting in some kind of learning session. Now, these are measures that will control the effect of the internet on a child. Now, one will say having so much information is a good thing. Yes, it can also have its negative feedback. You do have children who suffer from mental breakdown because of the use of the internet. And you'll say, how? It's because of you have a number of persons online, and you have persons who have different points of view where certain topics are. And so a child might post in a form a particular statement, and you have somebody from 10 different countries say something about that particular statement. And if that child doesn't have the strong family background, that child will take some of those negative statements and will affect that child for the rest of the child's life. So we have done sessions before on bullying in schools and those things, but we find that there's a transition where bullying is not only in school on a physical level, it's now virtual. And so those measures would have to be paid attention to within the home, and that is where the family policy comes in. That each family have the little rules and regulation to say, hey, you only can use the internet this time. Let me see what you're watching. Family members need to check even the history. What did you check? What were you on? And if you can't tell me what you were on, based on our rules here, which is our policy in the house, based on policy here, you can't use a device. So these are some of the measures that would have to put in place, because the internet has its negative effects. all right, and it will pull children in different direction.
If I may tie in something to what Dr. Nee would have said, there is healthychildren.org. They actually have a family media plan guideline. And so you go to this website and there are some children who they're saying, Mommy, Daddy, Granny, we want to see statistics, we want to see that it came from a professional. So you go some of these sites and they are already there. Healthychildren.org, there is actually this template where you type, they tell you based on the age of the child, this is the recommended screen time that this child should have. And so you're able to tie in outdoor activities, family face-to-face activities, and these activities, the family activities, there should be no gadgets unless you are using the gadgets for something that is family-oriented where everybody will benefit. And there is also they make mention of exercise and physical activities as well. So you're able to type in the age of the child and you see the screen time and you follow the guideline. It is printable as well. And so you can send it to your child's WhatsApp. This is what the schedule is, and it allows you to create goals and rules and keep your family's value in line. And there's also on that same site, there's also the media time calculator, and this is where you enter how much time this child should have, and you're able to lock down, their system can lock down once the designated time has ended.
So those are some sites that are out there to benefit parents, and I'm hoping that parents make use of it. But the typical parent who's not so savvy, will reach out and say, what can I do? And so and you also have children who are different, and some of them operate on a different spectrum, and so they have to be treated slightly differently. And so I have some tips here that I have listed that I will go through probably in a while. But the children that we have, especially within the Caribbean region, and I oftentimes speak to the regional, children, because we tend to operate differently from most of the children overseas. We tend to be very hyperactive on most front, and then we will take that level of energy and convert it into something else. So if we're extremely hyperactive out there, then we go and we're given a technological device, we're going to be extremely into it. And so there has to be a break in in that. So parents, who are not so tech savvy, you have devices. You can set timers on your phone. Simple, set a timer on your phone. Okay, I'm giving you 2 hours on that particular device. And once that alarm goes off, you're off. No. Right? If I come and I see you on it, then I'm going to take it away. All right? And give you some break there. And that is because children will be lost in things. They will be lost in it. Even adults. And you can't even blame the child. You can't blame the child because the children are hyperactive. And that is what I said to somebody recently, that child rearing is a full-time job. Is a full-time job. And while the tech is there to assist, you have to make sure that you monitor them very closely, because a child is going to be a product of the home. He or she will be a product of the home. And that is why in one of my tips that I have be a role model where technology is concerned. So if I expect the child not to be on the device at a certain time, the child is watching you. So if the child see you on the WhatsApp walking in the house, bouncing in the wall sometimes, and you're still on it, he or she is going to say, oh, it's something good.
I'm glad you said it, and I wanted to add something. I think we have some callers on the line.
Okay.
But let me put something in there.
Yeah.
So I have a niece and a nephew, and he would be on his tablet very often. And one time I said to him, "You're always on the tablet." Just imagine what the response was. He was like, "You're always on your phone."
That's the thing. That's the thing.
I couldn't respond.
You see?
I couldn't respond. I was like,
Because it's the truth.
It's the truth, right? So that role model, they are watching you, right? They are watching you.
Yes.
That is how children learn, right? They learn by observing and reacting to the environment that they're in.
We have a caller who's trying to get in. Caller, good afternoon. You are on the air.
Yeah, how are you guys doing, man?
Doing good, thanks.
Good so far.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, are you guys concerned about the thing they call the generation gap between the older people and the younger people? Seeing that the younger ones are so savvy at using these, computer gadgets and these smartphones, but the older people in the community, they don't have the know-hows. And also, are you guys having any classes for the older people to get training and how to use some of these gadgets so that they could get caught up to speed with this technology? Otherwise, that I'm thinking that generation gap is going to get wider and wider. And lastly, is there a concern that discipline inside the family would not be like how it used to be? Is it going to get worse because of the kids now? They have such a dominance and such in the know-hows of using the gadgets, these smartphones and stuff. Is there going to be a switch over of control in the family? Is control in the family structure is going to go more towards the children, dominating the parents? That's what I want you guys to maybe comment on some of these stuff that I've mentioned.
Thank you, caller, for your contribution.
I think the first point is whether or not if we're concerned about the generational gap from the cap from the Robotics Association. I have to put on that cap to respond to that question. So from that association, we do have programs that will be coming on stream soon to get some of the members that we have who are 18 and above. And when I say above, I'm talking about 50, 60, so forth, to make sure that they are IT savvy. I'm sure the counseling unit has something planned.
Always do.
So definitely we have that part, because it's an important part. We can't overlook that and pretend as if that part doesn't exist. So that is what we definitely have in plan to move towards for that part.
Okay, if I may add, remember the first part we spoke about bridging that intergenerational gap when we spoke about the thing about teachable moments, where you don't always have to rely on somebody on the outside to come in. These can happen right within the family. So as I was saying, we specify 2 hours, and the generation of great-grandparents and grandparents would be able to share their knowledge, their information, and what they valued then and what they still value now. And then the younger generation will be able to say, okay, this is how I access this.
Right.
Look at me, this is how they can walk you through it. You can do whatever research is. And so these teachable moments can happen right within the family, and we're happy to hear that the Robotics Association would be doing something and coming on stream, so we would be looking for some partnership and collaboration, because what we do, as we would have mentioned in the first half, no one organization or entity or person has all of the answers, and we don't have all of the resources either, so it takes a lot of collaboration across the board, and so we are relying on the Robotics Association, education, community development, social services, health. It would take a team approach for us to be able to reach and connect and be able to protect our children, protect our families, protect what we value most. And so to be just continuous awareness and trying to find inexpensive means within the families, and something as easy as a schedule. I'm writing up a schedule. I still love my charts. So when the children are at my home, they're looking at the charts. Sometimes, you can send it via WhatsApp, but there is a chart hanging somewhere on a door. Between 8 to this is the time, between 12 to... And these are things that we encourage families when we go into the homes to do. It doesn't take $1,000. Sometimes we actually provide the manila papers to them. We ask them to use folder lists, because these are things that are readily accessible accessible in the homes, and we draw up a chart, sit down, have a discussion. And I realized the caller would have spoken to discipline. You know, back then the approach was my way or the highway. What we are encouraging our families to do, our caregivers to do, is allow the children to have a voice, to be able to sit and, yes, teach them negotiating skills. And, I mean, it can't always be, I am mommy, I am daddy, this is what I says, and the buck stops there. Because then in doing so, we are cowing our children, we are taking away their voice. And so they can't function outside of the family, because that is what we are teaching them, to shut up. Do not have a say, do not have a voice, your opinion does not count. And these are the values that we start building within the homes. And so to be able to provide that level of strength, and as Dr. Nee would have said, it starts at home. And so we have to practice what we preach, but we have to practice it at home.
Right.
So it doesn't make sense to go outside of the home and, you know, you're preaching. Children learn by model behavior. And so to be able to allow family time, quality family time, to have this discussion, and even if you're creating a chart, even in terms of discipline, I mean, it's not always about corporal punishment and that's the end. There are so many other ways that we can use, we can discipline our children. But it takes a conversation, set boundaries, these are the rules. And for every action, there's a consequence. And start teaching these children these within the homes. So if you disobey this rule, this is the consequence. And we already spoke about it. So if we have had this discussion, you already know what is coming. I mean, you can plead with me, you can negotiate, you can say, okay, mommy, please just one more time, I know it. But we have to start to allow the children to be aware of their behaviors, to recognize that the things that they do, there is a consequence that follows. And it's not, and we have to allow them to have a voice, respectfully. And so we look at the things that we value most in the family. We set the rules, so you already know these are the rules that guide the homes, and we proceed. It just can't always be, you know, about beating and...
Yeah, what I've found... Yeah.
On the flip side of that too, we have to reinforce the idea of rewards. As remember, we always talk about consequences for children. If you don't do this, this happens. But we also have to encourage them, all right, if you do this particular thing, this is your reward. And I think this pushes them more to stay on the positive side, because you want to get this done. And it's not necessarily for them to just want something and get it. The idea that you understand the reason that you need to be doing this particular thing and what the reward should mean to you.
You know, just before you go, when you gave your response earlier, Dr. Neil, about being able to follow up with children in terms of, you know, knowing what they're doing on the internet, on technology, social media, in terms of checking their history, a question triggered. And this is an argument that has been on the table for a very long time from young people. I think you guys know where I'm going. But some young people are of the opinion that it is invading their privacy when you have to check their history or monitoring what they're doing and who they speak to and all of that. What is your perspective on that?
That is interesting. Well, I think, as I said, it goes back to having that kind of relationship with the children. And a lot of times, I think we know majority of what we should know about our children and what they might do. So once we have that kind of set, there might not be the need to invade the privacy or even see it like that. And you could even have a conversation with them about the fact that it's not that I want to be up in your business, but I want to make sure that you're safe. So see it as protection and not invasion. And then to, as much as we don't want to admit certain things, children strive on structure. So they might be saying, all right, oh, every minute you're saying this and you're saying that, but yet they want these things in place so they know if they're doing the right thing, or if, for example, I do the opposite, what happens if I do this? then what? So I think they want that structure just as a guide. You know, your children are going to explore and see if they could bend a little bit and all of that. But it still goes back to having that conversation and making sure they understand how to be responsible on the internet.
I agree. And if I may add as well, I think before we place anything into our children's hands, there are rules. And there should be a discussion and expectations. We talk about expectations. So I'm giving you this phone, I'm giving you this laptop, I'm giving you this tablet. These are the expectations. And you are telling me what do you expect of me as a parent, as a caregiver? What do you think I expect of you? And I am telling you these are what I expect of you too. So we are not just giving them these devices and then 2 weeks, 2 months after something happens, and they say, "Oh, no, you have already set these ground rules."
An agreement.
Prior, yes, yes, and you have already set these ground rules prior to. And so, if it is that a parent, as a caregiver, I am going to have access to it, unlimited access, where I can search, where I can take it up, even whatever the password is, it's a password that we have set. And in the event that you change this password and I can't get in, this is what happens. If it is that 1 month, 2 months pass, and I realize we are working well here, then as Michelle would have said, there are rewards. And so we continue, and mistakes would happen. And when these mistakes happen, we use these mistakes to be able to teach. So I mean, because we can't just allow children to think that you're not supposed to make mistakes. No, we make mistakes, and we have made mistakes forever. And so we can't allow them to be these perfect beings when we are not. And so to say to them, okay, this is a mistake, you access this site, what happened? How could we have worked our way around it? If something pops up, would you come and say it to me? Would you say it to your father? Would you say it to your grandmother? Would you say it to a responsible adult? And things like that. So we have these conversations before turning over these gadgets to these children.
Yeah, so I think one of the reasons why young people would have that viewpoint, because I work a lot with young people, and the reason why they would have that viewpoint is because in the first instance when the technology was given, it was just given perhaps, it's a technological age, so here.
A gift or something.
Yeah, but it was not given with careful thought. And so that kind of notion has spread to the point where now you're invading my private space. So that's why I started out earlier by saying that there must be a policy. A policy is just simple some rules and regulations that are set in the household to say, hey, this is what we expect of you. All right, we were young also, so don't think that we were born big. We were young also. Yeah, that's real. Be real with them, right? We weren't just born yesterday, so we know that is why we set these rules to protect you. All right, and so once we have those set up, then now we can say, okay, remember rule number 105 says that if you go on any site, then I should take the phone. Okay, and also, and even before it gets there, there should be a relationship between the child and the child's parents. That relationship where the child is free to show you something or ask you a question. Mommy, why this is happening on the internet? Why? So they should have that kind of open relationship to actually talk to you. Now that kind of relationship is built when the parent is not the parent who just hit. If breeze blow, hit. Yes.
Jump to
if the wind passed too hard, hit. Right? No, but conversation.
Yes.
Because I remember when I was a child growing up, back in the days when we had dinosaurs walking. That's what. So back in those days, right? I was the type of child who liked to be talked to. I don't like to be hit. I like to talk to me. Let's have a conversation. So my mother always said, "You always want to have a conversation." Yes, I want to have a conversation. So I want to build that kind of relationship, and then that now makes you into a more open person. You're open to have conversations and resolve issues, and so I think once that relationship is built in the home, then the argument of you're breaching my privacy would not necessarily come up because they will see it more of you're looking out for their best interest. And so when they have questions, they come to you instead of somebody else. You know, so these are some of the things that is very
Dr.
crucial.
Neil, if you remember, you said in your time when the dinosaurs
Yeah,
were
back in
walking.
the-
So imagine our grandparents and some came from the time when dinosaurs were probably not even
from the
big.
amoeba time, amoeba.
So a lot of things that, a lot of parenting styles, what we recognize when we go into the homes, parents genuinely love their children and they want what's best for them. But they don't have the tools and so, I mean, a lot of our parenting skills, unless we seek to know more and we really research and we are willing to try new things and new ways, they stick with us. And so some of the parents, they would say to you, my grandfather, my great-grandfather beat me and I am fine. And so I say, are you really fine? Think about it. And then they would start to unmask a lot of things, you know. After I got this set of blows, this happened, and then I just cut off. I stopped talking because I mean I get licks to shut up. I got licks to talk. I got licks. And then, yes, because then a lot of times we say we are fine, but we really are not psychologically, emotionally.
And I think it also goes back to the parent at that time also. They themselves are coming from, because remember, we have a history.
Yes.
And sometimes we try to avoid that history. The history that we have is not a history with a solid, smooth background. So there are effects on our forefathers.
Yes.
And so sometimes anger comes out.
Yes.
And so we receive it, you know, them hitting us for talking, hitting us for being quiet, you know, could be coming from somewhere for them.
Yes.
You understand? So that is why.
So it's also teach.
Yeah, because because there are those out there who will say, well, you know, we're trying to change how to. No, it's not that. You understand? No, it's not that. It's not you're trying to change. We're trying to look on things for what it is.
Yes.
Right? Because there are persons who respond differently from other people. Because I have a son, Matthew, one of my sons. Yes? Right? He doesn't respond to, well, he's afraid of, licks. But he will, once you talk to him, that's enough. You just speak to him, and that's it. Okay. Right?
Exactly.
So I cannot say, okay, yeah. So, you see, that's the evidence there. So I cannot say no because my father hit me, I'm going to hit him. I can't just do that.
But then you see, you
have
have to
learn
know your children
child,
because it's not a one size fits all. Because he would respond. Matthew would respond to talking.
Yeah.
But what about the other child who does not talk? And so, you know, how do you reach? And so we have to we are teaching parents to relearn so much.
To learn a lot of things. And one of my points that I have is that when I was told about the show, the first thing pop in my mind is education. I think that's a big thing that is needed, constant.
Yes.
Not just one, but a constant level of education for parents. Because parents and their parents genuinely want the information. Because they want to know why it is as soon as the child moves something, I feel like to knock him down. And sometimes it's coming from somewhere. Yeah. And so once we're able to, break that to say, okay, get to learn the child, get to understand him, listen to him for once, just listen, just hear him out. Let him finish the conversation, as opposed to when he starts, he says, shut up, go to your room. No, let him finish the conversation. And then you have a logical argument with him, right, a constructive argument. So if you pose a point to say, okay, so what about this point? Don't you think that this is fair? Right? And these kind of conversation is what cause young people to have faith in their parents and believe in their parents. Even when somebody who is a stranger come outside to tell them anything, they say, no, me and mommy have a discussion here. And the reason I'm saying that is, I remember I was teaching a topic called binary once. And I taught a child how to convert from binary to decimal, right? And I gave him how. And then he came back to me the following week and said, teacher, and another teacher said, that's not correct. So I said, okay, what you should do now, you should know how to prove when something is correct. Not just saying that teacher tell you. So this is how so I'm going to show you, I'm going to prove to you now why this is the case. So you're able to prove to that child. Now from that day onwards, every time the child goes to a class, the child is asking the teacher to prove.
Yeah, because
why you say that?
You have given him two.
Yes,
You have,
right. Yes, so no, you can't just tell me anything. I need sufficient proof to support this, so just in case somebody else comes. So that's the same thing. So children operate like that.
That
They
sounds
want,
like your daughter.
yes,
Everything has to be
yes, so the children, they want to know, they want information. As I said before, and I started again, is an information age we live in.
Oh, yes.
Young people, they are all bombarded with all this information, and so they're holding on. So the parent now has another full-time job to ensure that you sit with them, talk to them, yes, and even some things that you probably hear them talking about on the internet. I was on the internet, mommy, and I saw this meme about this person, and they show you, and they're laughing, and you perhaps don't know what's happened. You can pretend to laugh too, and then after go and check it out.
But you
To see what it is, right? Just to get, just to build that bond with them.
During the first half, we spoke about supervision being a team sport. So mommy and daddy doesn't have to know all of the answers, but being able to set up this supportive system around the child.
Yes.
So if not mommy or daddy, uncle, older sister, cousin.
That's true.
It is 1:15. Why am I saying 11? It is 1:15.
You like us this much, you want to start over.
It is 1:15. We'll take a short break to say thank you to our sponsors, and we come back, we'll continue our program. Thank you guys so much. This is Inside the News on 1FM 98.9.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Gift for Dad's birthday? Click. Ooh, Janice's retirement party? Click. Outfit for my girl's wedding? Click. With TDC Airbox, you click, we ship. Register for your free U.S. mailbox today and shop all your favorite stores online. Enjoy the convenience. Free consolidation up to £10. Competitive rates. Free package tracking account with live notifications. Free delivery and, of course, excellent customer service. Visit our website at tdcairbox.com and register today. For more information, visit our offices at the C.A. Paul Industrial Site in St. Kitts and Penny's Industrial Site in Nevis. Follow us on social media at TDC Airbox. TDC Airbox. You click, we ship. Terms and conditions apply.
People make the world go
Your offers that you can't refuse because you just.
Welcome back to Inside the News. This is 1FM 98.9. I'm your host, Devon Cornelius, and I'm here with Alicia Collins, Michelle and Neil, and Dr. Ricardo Neil. Thank you again so much for accepting our invitation. So we had a behind-the-scene conversation. We're back. Dr. Neil, my question to you was, do you believe that the internet studies people?
I would say yes. For the public who is listening, wonder why I pause. Is because it depends on who I'm talking to. So if we're having a scientific conversation regarding the internet, then we narrow it down to coding and how the codes respond and how the internet would be used to do that. So, but generally we can form a thesis, if you will, to say yes, the internet do study people. Most times when you're on a particular site, they will ask you, and it is by law that they're required to actually do it. So if you're on a site and that site is taking information without asking you, then that is illegal. All right, the sites should actually once you open a page, it should ask you and give you a policy statement or a guideline to say this is what you're agreeing to come on the site. And once you're here, then this is what happens. Now, you can agree or disagree. Now, if you agree to go on the site, you have to accept. And so in that regard, they begin, what they do, they would store information on your system, which we call cookies. And that particular code send back information to the developers as to your pattern, which particular page you visit more often, what are the things that you clicked on. And it's very, very simple. It's a very simple technology for us, who deals with server, because I could go on a server and I will see the amount of clicks that would occur on a particular site. So larger companies would take that information and they would sell that information to other corporations to say these persons are visiting this site a lot or this particular item a lot, and so you can send them ads with the latest updates and so forth. And that in itself we classify it as social engineering, where it convinces you, the user, after sending you all of that, to actually begin to want to purchase. Even if you didn't have it in your mind, but this one looked nice, so you feel the need to actually get that. So that's social engineering. So yes, a lot of that happens a lot. And the same thing happens with our children in the home. If they're playing their games, the inventor for these games, or more so the developer for the games, they tend to offer like skins, what we call skins, like different look for the players, right? And so they will ask them, you have to enter credit card number, and you have to enter, these numbers. And so they will come over to you and say, Mommy, could I borrow your credit card?
Dr. Neil, did you pick up my sheet? Because that was our next conversation.
Yes, so these are things, and so they will come and ask you, and these things, and that is where the relationship needs to be tight between the parent and the child. So the child is willing to come and ask, because they're children who just take your card, enter the information, get the skin, and they're happy. And then you get a bill and wonder what happened here, right? So you have this. These are some of the effects, if you will, of the internet, where it encourages the children to do stuff, whether it is good or bad. There's an encouragement to actually behave a certain way.
That is why it is important for caregivers, parents, grandparents to at least try to get to familiarize themselves with the technology that the children are using and the activities they are doing online. Because, there are parents who still don't know that just those video games, the children are communicating with each other via these headsets. They are in purchase apps where you have to pay real money.
Yes.
And so, parents, sometimes they lose, like monies are going off of their accounts, and they have no idea what is happening. But the children, they see the credit card, they know. I said to a parent one time, I was in a home, I said to her, the children can just go, and she's saying, who taught him how to use my credit card? I say, you just go in Google and type how to make a purchase. It's right there.
And also these agencies that like EA Games and those things, those agencies, they actually, once you reach at a level, you want to go to another level in the game, for argument's sake, it's gonna pop up on the screen. If you need to go further, it's $5.
Yes.
So if they click yes, the system is designed, in a very simple way, where it shows you where the card number should go, where the name of the person
on the card,
right? The date.
Because their goal is to make that.
Yeah, that's what to make it easy, right? So that is, that is how they do it. And so a child who has no knowledge could just simply take it up and just enter the credit card information and click send, and then it confirm, and then that's it.
Okay. I think we have some children listening, so let's take it lightly. You're winding down. It's 23 minutes past the hour of 1. We have to wrap up at 1:30, so we'll see how much we can get in for the next 7 minutes. It's a very interesting conversation that we're having. I wanted to pose a question. What about children who you see them playing all these games, right? And but you refuse to acknowledge it. That in order for that child to play that game, they have to buy it. And so you see them with the phone that, okay, yeah, you bought the phone, but you see them playing some Nintendo this or Nintendo that, and you're like to yourself, wait, how did he get that game? And that game cost 20 US, but I didn't give him 20 US. And so sometimes we really have to, I guess it ties back into what we were saying before in terms of checking their history and supervision.
Yeah.
Because your child is spending money, but you don't know where they're getting the money from.
And you as a parent really trying to get to know. Ask questions. If you have a younger son, there's somebody younger in your family who you're close to. If you're not familiar with the games, tell me more about this game. But because I remember I would have had an interaction with a family some years ago, and you know, when we were talking about the games, the headsets, and I mentioned something about being able to connect with persons outside of St. Kitts and Nevis. She said, who? No. She said, it's just his friends. So I said, ask him. She said, come here.
Yes.
Can you really talk to and the child is talking about persons in countries she didn't even know.
All of it,
She said, but I thought it was just a friends. I said, you see, you have to know. She said, well, no, we have to talk about this thing now, you know.
We talk to complete strangers.
That's it. Yeah.
And these strangers are preying on our children, and they're in there posing as a 13 or 10-year-old, and they're asking for your information. Where do you live? They're so smart. I mean, so these children, they're into the game. They're like, oh, I'm living in this community. And they're like, shoot them. And no.
There's no time.
No, mommy is not here right now. Dad is not here right now. But they don't understand. They say, yeah, I'm here alone. But they're playing. But so we really have to monitor, we have to supervise, we have to set up this supervision team around our children. So even while they're playing the game, a big brother, a big cousin, somebody is there who understands too. Because, I mean, if you're there supervising and we just don't know what they're doing, we're just there, just have a present.
Yes. Because that game, sorry, you wouldn't believe, I'm 20, but that game you spoke about, I don't know how to play it. I know what you're talking about. What do they call it, boy? With the shooting, and yes, I know what you mean.
I think one of the things that is important within a family is culture, a family culture.
Yes.
Not necessarily the country culture, but each family should have a culture where the child is open and free to actually have some conversation and ask questions. Now, when I say a culture, for example, the culture could be that the child is, we have an understanding that we do not say or, give out personal information in the home, right? So once it comes down to the family, personal information is it stays in. And my daughter is like that, Lord Jesus. She is locked down. Ask her any question, why do you want that information? So, that's the kind of thing. So there should be a culture. And so you do not want at the same time to restrict them from not exploring, because that is the age that they're living in. They need to explore and they need to know what's actually happening. But at the same time, that level of culture that is built in the home cause them to be open to come and say, hey, mom, this person asking me this. Why they asking me this? And you say, no. Those questions, you don't answer those questions. So that level of culture cause a better cohesion in the family. And you don't have that kind of issue where, they're secretly they're having conversation and you don't know.
I agree.
Or you see them with a particular type of game and you they pay. That's a very good point to draw. They're playing this particular game that they have to pay for, and you just turn your blind eye. No,
exactly.
If your child come home, for example, when I was younger coming up, again, back in those days, I remember one day going home with a book that was not mine. I accidentally take up my friend's textbook and pack it in my bag. And I went to my mother checked my bag and said, whose book is this? I said, oh Lord, I think it's for my friend. She said, here, take it back.
If it's
so I had to go back.
So I had to go back,
right? And that's the kind of, thing that she actually instilled. She instilled that, and I value that. Because your child should not turn up with things and you pretend like, no, because you don't know where to get it from. It could also mean that they're building this relationship with somebody outside, and you are exempt. And then 3, 4, 5 years after, you find their behavior begin to change. And then you wonder, why are they changing? They're changing because somebody out there is influencing them.
And sometimes they like to say happen overnight.
Yeah, no. It's a gradual process. It's a gradual process. And so you see them begin to behave and changes because the influence outside is strong. Now, it is a gamble to actually believe that there's going to be a positive effect from outside. You have those people outside who will give positive effect, but not all the time. So that's a gamble. And that is why the parent has to ensure that they build that relationship. How do you build that relationship? Talk to the child in the home. Communicate with them. Ask them, how was the day? What do you guys do today? How is that game I saw you playing?
And also giving them options. Giving them options, because sometimes there are certain things they wouldn't feel comfortable talking with mommy and daddy about. So, and that goes up back to the support circle, because then if not mommy, if not daddy, then who? And so we have the power, we have the opportunity to give them options. If not mommy and daddy, this is the next person. And different age group, different generations of people who we really trust. And we figure these persons have the best interest of our children at heart. And so we set up this support circle. And so if they go to this person and ask this question, I mean, you have this communication where you're coming to daddy or mommy and say, your child asked me about this, and you should have this conversation a little bit more. Yes.
Yeah, and that is how children build relationships.
Yes.
They build a relationship when they recognize, and sometimes the child might not give you the impression that what you're saying is important. But they're valuing it.
Yes.
They're holding on to those words. They pretend as if they're not, but they're valuing it. They need that because they are growing. That means they're learning. They're learning as they go along.
Unfortunately, we are at the end time. It is 1:31. I'll give each of you 2 minutes or less to wrap up.
Okay, so what I would like to say to parents is that in this age of technology, do not underestimate, or downplay your child being on the internet. Try to find out what's going on, but build that relationship with them. But I'm going to give a few tips that I have here for parents in this age that we're living in. 1, make your own media plan. So make a plan for media. 2, treat media as you would any other environment in your child's life. Set limits and encourage playtime always. Screen time should not always be alone. So do not leave them alone to do that. Be there with them. All right? Be a good role model, as I mentioned before. Children learn what they see. Know the value of face-to-face communication. That must be a priority. Limit digital media for your youngest family members. So the younger ones, gradually, do not just give them the device when they misbehave and say, go in the corner. No, that's a big misconception there.
That's a mix. You give them...
Just give them the device and say, go. Because you don't want them to disturb you. So you're not necessarily addressing the problem. You're making it worse.
Yes.
That's another conversation that we could have.
Yes.
Don't use technology as an emotional pacifier. That's exactly what I'm saying there. Apps for children, you have apps that allow children to do their homework. Sometimes the parents is not so savvy in math. There are some apps out there that will assist them. And my final one is, it's okay for your teen to be online. It is okay.
Yes.
We're not saying that they're not supposed to be online. We're just saying monitor.
Yes. Well, Dr. Neil would have touched on a number of things. Set rules as it relates to technology. Set time away from the screen. Face-to-face family time is important. And when you say face-to-face family time without any gadgets. Get to know your children's technology and the activities that they're doing online. If you don't know, set up a support system around them where everybody works hand in hand. Set reasonable screen time. Use the mistakes as opportunities to be able to teach and to develop and grow. And also research, share and bond. Research information, always see it as an opportunity to learn, share with each other, share with the family, share with the children, and bond with the family members, bond with other parents to form the support group. and as well as technologies can be used to capture our family legacy, and so we don't want to miss that opportunity. So we use the technology to be able to create bring our family history and our family story to life. And also the teachable moments, use the teachable moments. You don't have to look outside, you don't have to spend money. You have a wealth of professionals inside of your family. Use those resources that are readily available.
There are 2 points I just want to mention that is in my list that I forget. But let me just mention them. Warn children about the importance of privacy and the danger of predators and sexting. And it's texting, but sexting.
yes.
So you'll have a conversation with them about that. Even if that's not happening, have a conversation about that, so they are informed. And always remember, kids will be kids.
Yes.
They will be kids.
Okay, my final words as a parent is we have to always remember that even though the child is a part of the home, the child is also a part of the world, this whole social situation. So there will always be what we call strong pulling forces. There will always be things that are drawing them to. So we just have to make sure that we strike that balance between permitting them to explore the world and protecting them from the harm presented in the world.
Thank you guys so much. It was indeed a wonderful conversation. It was a learning experience. It was indeed a learning experience. I don't have any children, but I have nieces and nephews who would tell me I spend too much time on my phone. When I tell them they spend too much time on their gadgets. And so it was indeed a very good conversation, very good discussion. And again, thank you guys so much for accepting our invitation. I'm hoping that we can have part 2.
Yes. Once per month, yes?
Yes. Yes. I'm hoping we can have part 2, as I gather that there were some areas that you wanted to touch on, but time would not permit us. But again, thank you guys so much. It is 1:36, and we're going to end our program here inside the news for Saturday, May 22nd, 2021. I was your host for today, and our guests were Dr. Ricardo Neal, Mrs. Michelle Ann Neal, and Miss Alicia Collins. Thank you.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects or sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean sky.